This portion of the CU podcast is brought to you by The Adventures of Giggle Squid. The Adventures of Giggle Squid is a junior novel that offers a unique approach to superhero-like origin stories. But rather than a child thinking they need a special serum or a radioactive spider bite to make them stand out, the story is about realizing they already have amazing untapped talents that they may not have discovered yet. The Adventures of Giggle Squid follows the story of Giggle's epic journey across the ocean to save little brother Ike from the grasp of a pirate sushi chef and his crew.
No.
With a strong influence from comic books and classic video games, the book includes over 20 beautiful hand-drawn images to help guide self-reading or enhance family bedtime stories, and is also printed with a tried and tested dyslexia-friendly font to aid those that may otherwise find reading difficult. And there's even a hidden Easter egg that pays homage to the Nintendo classic Metroid. So if you like comics, video games, and you have a little one in your life that likes them too, then The Adventures of Giggle Squid is your perfect choice. As well as the book itself, there's a fantastic collection of rewards for backers, including the adorable Giggle plushie. Ian, this is adorable. It's
I love
cute.
plushies. It is. It's
Cute story. I used to love.
very cute.
I read a lot of children's books growing up in the libraries. I used to borrow them. So if you have a little one in your life, check it out. You can discover more by searching The Adventures of Giggle Squid on Kickstarter, clicking the link in the description below, or heading to gigglesquid.co.uk. Your support is vital for helping independent content creators bring their work to life. Head to Kickstarter now to secure your copy today. All right. And on the CU podcast, we celebrate anniversaries on what? 5s
and 0s.
And big old O's. And that's it. No 19, no 12, no 37 or anything like that.
No, it's not necessary. I don't even celebrate my birthdays anymore on like the whole years, like in terms of like keeping track of my age. I've been telling people I'm 40 for like 5 years now.
Why don't you do that to yourself, Ian?
And as soon as I turn 40, I'll be telling people I'm 45.
PS2 turned 20.
PS2
in North America.
Turned 20 in North America. I have a lot of memory. It's funny. The PlayStation 2 was the last system I bought before I took, I would say, about a generation long break from gaming. Got back into it with the Xbox 360 when Pac-Man Championship Edition was released. I bought my 360 specifically for Pac-Man Championship Edition. I was still living in Buffalo when the PlayStation 2 came out.
Like how you measure everything in time by if you were in Buffalo.
I do. And I imported a PlayStation 2 from Japan with a couple of games. It was expensive. And I was kind of under this idea in my head that, okay, well, they're going to be using DVD-ROMs. I was like, maybe there'll be subtitles for more games. The system was region locked, and I ended up not importing much of anything because, of course, these games weren't suddenly magically translated for importers. But the PlayStation 2, it's the system itself, I think, is important because it's really like it's the best-selling system of all time, and it was, I think, really when video games became a truly socially acceptable thing.
155 million units.
It's absolutely insane. I don't want to say never.
I don't think we're going to see that again.
But I don't think we're going to see that again. Nintendo had faltered so poorly with the N64 that honestly the game, and I like
they had zero momentum at that point.
Right. I like the GameCube, but the GameCube could have been the greatest system in the world, and I still don't think that would have been enough to dethrone Sony. That's just how bad the N64 fucked up Nintendo's momentum. And it wasn't a failure in the same way that the Wii U was, but it had the problem of being a failure at the same time that Sony's PlayStation 1 did gangbusters. Sony was just entering the market, and here was this new person, and they did insanely well. There was no way their follow-up wasn't going to be crazy. You saw the PlayStation 2 on TV, in music videos. It was
Sony was pushing it.
Yeah, it came up in rap lyrics, and sure, other video game systems have in the past. Biggie mentioned Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, but it was everywhere. It was fucking everywhere.
Huge marketing campaign, obviously.
It was I mean, especially as time went on with that system, a couple of years into it, it was hard to walk into a friend's house and not see a PS2. Like, just everyone had them. One of the things I think that really helped the PS2 was not only the goodwill that Sony had going into that generation with the PlayStation 1, but also the fact that it was a DVD player. It came out, I think we forget about that, but when it came out, DVD players were just becoming a common thing. And
just before, because they were super expensive.
Yes, they were. That's what I was getting at. They were very, very expensive. And I think my DVD player, because I bought it like the first year it was really big. I think my DVD player on sale ran me $200 to $250. A PlayStation 2 alone would run you $250.
Well, it was released at what, $300 when it first came out?
Was it? Okay.
But then it went down after that. So at the time, I remember this. At the time, it was about the same price as your lower level DVD player.
Sure.
They were about the same, and obviously Sony knew that. They're like, well, you can buy a DVD player that just plays movies, or you can buy a PS2 that plays movies and games. And I think that's not, I'm not going to say a chunk of them, but that definitely entered into people's heads when that happened. Because in 2000, DVDs were like a brand new thing still to a lot of people. There weren't a lot of DVDs that existed in the year 2000. I know, because I worked at Suncoast Motion Picture Company. And our DVD section, when I first started, was like a vertical shelf, like that wall. That was the DVD section.
And a lot of it, and I mean, you'll probably agree with this, because I bought my DVD player. I had graduated. I had money. I was walking around the mall. One of the things that adopted DVD very, very quickly early on was anime. Lots and lots of anime DVDs. And I remember walking into a Suncoast and seeing a lot of anime. And yeah, there were normal movies too, but anime was a large chunk of it. And I saw Cowboy Bebop, and I was like, I want to watch this. So I walked down to Sears and bought a DVD player, and then went back to Suncoast and bought the Cowboy Bebop DVDs. But yeah, so it was easy for people to look at it and go, okay, this is a deal. Streaming video was not yet a thing, so you can't say so there was definitely people were going to be buying DVD players. By the time Sony came out with Blu-ray, or the PlayStation 3, and Blu-ray was a thing, it was harder to convince people to upgrade to Blu-ray. For a lot of people, the quality you got off a DVD was just fine. But also, this is around the time where digital video starts to make a bigger impact. Netflix started doing streaming shortly after the PlayStation 3 came out. And I think it was harder to convince people that Blu-ray players were more expensive. And
well, you needed to upgrade your TV again to 4K. That's
not 4K. I use Blu-ray. Blu-ray is 1080p for a lot of it. It's not all 4K. 4K.
That's true.
When you buy a Blu-ray, there's a 4K version. 4K versions, and there's Blu-ray versions.
But either way, people had just upgraded their TVs for the first time. Now you got to do another upgrade.
Right. So it was harder to do it, and it seemed less essential. But by the time DVD came out, I think everyone realized that VHS was,
VHS was garbage. You knew VHS was garbage in the early 90s when you're watching it. Like, you watch the same VHS 4 times, and there's error is tracking on it now.
Yeah.
Like when DVD was first announced as a thing, coming down the pike, like in the mid to late 90s, like 96, like, oh, it's coming. It's the video version of having a CD for music. People were like, what? You don't have to rewind anymore? There's no degradation of quality? Like, that alone was like, this is going to be the biggest thing. Like, people were hungry for DVDs. They were hungry for them. Not in the same way that Blu-rays were. But that all fed into the PS2, even before you get into, well, what games are on here. Like, that was almost secondary, I think, when it first came out.
Because the PlayStation 2 launch lineup wasn't particularly amazing, but they quickly did get games afterwards.
They cut the price real quick. They cut the price in May 2002 from $300 to $200. So once that happened, then yeah, game on, because now this is cheaper than your most of your DVD players at the time.
So interestingly, that was around the time that I got my import PS2, around the time I moved out. when I moved out, I wasn't playing a lot of single player games or RPGs, which is what, Sony was at that point in time known for with the PlayStation 1 was all the RPGs it got. So I played a lot of multiplayer games on my GameCube, but then I just wasn't playing as many games. I was out on my own. And then I moved in 2005 and it's funny. I did not experience a lot of the better stuff on the PlayStation 2 library until after it was relevant.
Most of my
I did miss. That's kind of a lost generation to me.
Okay, so most of my PS2 experience was through my cousin Dennis, because he had the PS2. They got it was three brothers. Always said they got every video game console that came out like right when it came out. They got everything. So I'd go over and we'd play Midnight Club a lot, which is fantastic game.
It is a good game.
Come on, Rockstar, give me another Midnight Club. You can do it. It won't take you 17 years like a GTA game. We play that late at like a Saturday night. You're talking like early 20s. You're hanging out, just nothing else doing a Saturday night. You can go to Dairy Queen, get your Blizzard, come back, and you play Midnight Club until like 1 a.m, something like that. Then I think I watched his brother play Metal Gear Solid. I don't know if it was 2 or 3.
That would have been it could have been 2 or 3.
But I used to watch that. This is interesting. To me, it was like the natural progression of watching watching the original PlayStation being played, because it's a natural progression system. I owned a PS2. I did. I'm not sure many people knew that time. I only owned like 2 games, and I'm struggling to even figure out what the second one was, but I did have my cousin bring over games and we'd play them. So this is how I got my PS2. It was one of those what you think are scam things that existed in the early 2000s, where it was like, click on all these deals and we'll send you a PS2 thing. You ever remember those sort of things? Mm-hmm. Like click on all these things, we'll send you a DVD player. Try all these trials. And I did that, and it was real, but it was tough. So it was like, basically, buy these somehow legal but should be illegal amphetamines to help you lose weight. And I still have that bottle somewhere just in stores, because I thought it was funny to have it. I put it in my sock drawer. And you try it for like $10. Try this trial for this. Then you got to cancel.
Probably ephedrine.
Something like that. Yeah. Something that shouldn't be illegal. So I did all these trials. Most of them you can cancel just from online, but some of them you had to call up and like haggle with someone that knows the only reason you're calling is to cancel it. So you had to spend money on some of these trials. They weren't all free. It was to spend $5 or $10 there. But it only amounted to like spending, I think, like $50 to get a $200 game system, which did arrive. So it all worked. And I did make sure my credit cards weren't like overcharged or anything. I think they only did it for one, and I called and complained. So like that's how I got my PS2. The reason I got the PS2 though was I was so jones for SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. Which was the, I believe, 3rd or 4th SmackDown game that came out, something like that. But
the first 2 were on PlayStation, and there was Just Bring It and Here Comes the Pain. I don't remember what order they came out in.
Okay, but Here Comes the Pain was fantastic, and it's still regarded as one of the best ever SmackDown or WWE games, I guess, of the modern or more modern era. And I played that game like so much. It was a Ukes game, Ukes game. And the gameplay was smooth.
They were all Ukes until like a year ago.
Oh, that's right. Then now they redid it. But for some reason, people wowed that gameplay as being, I guess, the most intuitive and simple. And they added too much, and it was fine. That's when they added like different body parts, pains, and things like that. And they had the reversals were kind of weird, but whatever, because you can keep reversing a million times. But I had a ton of fun playing that and doing the Creator Wrestler with me and my cousin. We did tag teams and stuff like that. And it was a brave new world playing the PS2 to a lot of people. I remember playing the Warriors with them. He brought over the Warriors game, another Rockstar game, and playing that. I don't know. It seemed like not I don't call it transition, but maybe it was like something like the turn of the century, that PS2 was just in the right place at the right time, and they capitalized on the PlayStation success. And obviously they had a lot of good games. You know, I didn't play a lot of them, but even playing the stuff like State of Emergency, which you look another Rockstar game. Looking back, it's like that's just garbage. At the time, it was fun playing something like that.
Yeah, a lot of franchises either came into their own or started on like a lot of franchises that are popular today, I should say, either came into their own or got started on the PlayStation 2. You can look at things like God of War, GTA finally kind of became what it always wanted to be on
Yeah,
the PS2.
two came out first, and then 3 obviously blew up everywhere.
2 was on the PlayStation 1.
Oh, was it on okay, was it?
On PlayStation 2, it goes 3, Vice City, San Andreas.
Okay.
And, until... I know GTA 5 is huge, but a lot of people still consider San Andreas to be kind of the pinnacle of the series. So, yeah. I mean, I don't really have a whole lot more to say, but it was, lots of RPGs, great sports games, all the big titles. And I mean, during that time period, its competitors were the GameCube and the Xbox, both of which actually did fairly well. I mean, video games just in general were very popular then, but nothing compared to the PlayStation 2.
Yeah, GTA 3, God, we should talk more about what a phenomenon that was. And that game, I think that we crossed that boundary. That's what the PS2, maybe that's what the bridge was. That was the boundary of, oh my God, open world. This is what we can do with these games now that we couldn't do 5-6 years ago.
Right.
And GTA 3, I played that game or watched it being played probably a lot more now. I'm looking back. Whenever I went over, like, it would turn to GTA 3, and you were just marveling at that. And I remember that because it was like, wow, because I used to love Driver on the PlayStation. That's the reason I had Bleem. To me, like, GTA 3 was an extension of Driver, basically. But I was like, well, imagine if you get out of your car. And they tried that with, like, Driver 2 or 3, and it sucked or whatever. It went
GTA, and then Driver kind of took the exciting part of GTA and made it 3D with the car chases, but didn't have the on-foot stuff. And then GTA 3 kind of completed that circle.
Sure. So that's why I always looked at it. I was like, what if Driver, you can get out of your car, and then GTA 3 makes it happen somehow like magic, because there wasn't a game before that, I think, that came close to even trying that in an environment that big.
The Getaway, but I think the Getaway might have been after. And the Getaway was
even on
more
PC. I'm trying to even think on a PC, a game that tried to do something like that. You can't even think of it. That's the thing. So GTA 3 was revolutionary, and you can't think of that without thinking of the PS2. Like, they go together. Rockstar and PlayStation, like, they go together. Like Ian's peanut butter and chocolate ice cream, talked about in the intro there. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say there. And obviously, PS3 comes out, didn't do quite as well as the PS2, what would have, but it obviously was a disappointment in comparison. And 20 years old, Ian can almost buy some alcohol.
One more year, but we won't talk about it next year.
No, we won't. We don't.
It's not a 0 or
we don't talk about consoles or games when they can legally drink and get drunk.